I'm back with another video. You know, there are several things to do in the state of Oregon. I made several stops in my travels there. This video is about one of them, the Columbia River Gorge. Here we go. "30 miles from Portland, Oregon is the Columbia River Gorge National Scenic Area. It earned that distinction with the stroke of a pen from President Ronald Reagan in 1986. Most of the 80 miles of the Columbia River Gorge runs adjacent to Interstate 84. It contains 13 state parks, 2 national wildlife refuges, and 2 national forests. The Columbia River divides the states of Washington and Oregon. It drains into the Pacific Ocean. There are a number of forces that created the Columbia River Gorge. One of them was the eruption of volcanoes in the Cascade Mountain Range, specifically Mount Hood and Mount St. Helens. The lava from these eruptions raised the granite in what we now call the Columbia Basin. Some evidence of that on the Oregon side of the gorge. You will see up to 4,000-foot high cliffs from that upheaval. The next force of nature that helped create the Columbia River Gorge were what we call Missoula floods. The Missoula floods began with the draining of the prehistoric lake, Lake Missoula, near what we know now as Spokane, Washington. As the earth began to warm during the last ice age, water from Lake Missoula broke through ice dams. That created cataclysmic floods. There were a known 40 of these floods that took place over thousands of years. The water from these floods generated a force 10 times greater than all of the nation's rivers combined. The flood stripped away hundreds of feet of soft rock and soil and created what is now the only sea level passage through the Cascade Mountain Range. It is because of these events that the Lewis and Clark expedition navigated the Columbia River on their way to the Pacific with relative ease. Although the Columbia River Gorge has been made famous by the passage of the Lewis and Clark expedition, the Native American tribes of the Nez Perce and the Cowlitz have lived, hunted, and fished along the Columbia River for 10 to 15,000 years. Something people may not know, the Columbia River Gorge is home to the nation's highest concentration of waterfalls. So, the primary focus of this video is going to be about them. Not all of them, because that would bore you. There are several that are worth mentioning. Most of them are easily accessible. There are 2 million people that visit the Columbia River Gorge every year. Most of them go to Multnomah Falls. And when you see it, you clearly understand why it is magnificent. Multnomah Falls drops 620 feet. It is the tallest waterfall in the state of Oregon. It was formed 15,000 years ago by the Missoula floods. It carries the name of the Multnomah tribe. Understand this, no matter when you go to Multnomah Falls, there are going to be people there. There's a huge visitor center there with gift shops and restaurants and snacks and ice cream. There's something for everyone. You're going to take exit 30 off I-84 to Multnomah Falls. Because Multnomah Falls is so popular, you will have had to have purchased a $2 timed entry permit from the government website recreation.gov. You can hike up to the falls. There's a bridge that centers you right in front of the falls. You can almost feel the mist from its spray. You can look down and see the splash pool the waterfall makes. In the past, people would go swimming in this pool. However, in the 1990s, a boulder the size of a school bus broke away from the walls and crashed down into that pool. This rock is a remnant of that. And so after that, I'm sure someone said, probably not a good idea to have people down here swimming. There is a way to escape the crowds at Multnomah Falls. You can hike to the top of the falls and get a very different perspective. Just keep going past the Benson Bridge, you will see a sign that indicates that it is a 1-mile hike to the top. I decided that I was going to try it. I said to myself, it's only a mile. There are people who know me who would disagree, but aside from I can't wait to grow up and pay my own bills, that might be the dumbest thing I ever said. The sign says that there are 11 switchbacks from which you gain elevation to the top of the waterfall. No. It felt like there were 100 of them. So just know when you do this hike, yes, it is only a mile, but it is a mile straight up. But when you do get to the top of the falls, it is a very different perspective. You can hear and feel the rush of the falls, and I was glad that I did it. I've been to the gorge 3 times. However, this was my first time hiking to the top of the falls. Would I do it again? I don't know, man. After you visit Multnomah Falls, there are a number of other waterfalls and features to see in the gorge. I would suggest that you go back to your car and drive to exit number 35. There you will pass by Ainsworth State Park. Then you can begin your drive down the Columbia River Gorge Scenic Highway. This Scenic Highway was built in 1914. It is actually the first of its kind in the United States. Not long, perhaps 3 miles after Ainsworth State Park, you will see Horsetail Falls. It falls 242 feet. It is right on the road. There's a parking lot there. You can walk across the street and look at the falls. The next waterfall that you're going to come to is Oneonta Falls. It is a 100-foot waterfall that lies in the hard-to-describe slot canyon of Oneonta Gorge. This gorge is by far my favorite. Here's the problem. In 2017, a teenager was lighting fireworks. It sparked what is called the Eagle Creek Fire that burned 50,000 acres in 3 months. Part of that carnage was Oneonta Gorge. Since then, it has been unsafe because there are trees and debris that are falling from above into the gorge, and it is not safe. There are plans and conversations about how to make this area safe and open the gorge. And when it does, I will be one of the first people in line to do this hike. The next waterfall you're going to come to is Multnomah Falls. But you've already seen this, and if you're on the Scenic Highway, there's nowhere to park. So you're going to drive past Multnomah Falls to the next waterfall, Wakena Falls. There's a 1/4 mile hike from the parking lot to Wakena Falls. The falls will drop in total 242 feet. There's an 18-foot bridge that takes you directly to the base of the fall. I would just warn you now, so if you plan to hike to this, take a raincoat. The mist and spray from the fall is sure to get you wet. When you continue down the Scenic Highway, you're going to come to the Bridal Falls State Park. Just note that there are a number of Bridal Falls in the United States. I believe there are at least 2 of them in Oregon. This one is in the Columbia River Gorge in the Bridal State Park. Bridal Falls drops 139 feet. It is a 1 mile round trip hike out and back. Now, I am feeling my feelings about this 1 mile thing because, the last sign that I said, it said 1 mile. I felt like I was climbing Mount Everest. This was a very moderate hike, and the waterfall is well worth it. Not far from Bridal Falls are the Falls of Shepherd's Dell in the Shepherd's Dell Natural Area. This is a 92-foot cascading waterfall. It's actually longer than 92 feet if you count how far the falls continue underneath the Shepherd's Dell Bridge. There is a set of concrete stairs you can take to the bottom of the lower tier, or you can stand on the bridge and take it all in. The last waterfall that I visited is another one of my favorites, Lateral Falls. Lateral Falls is in Guy W. Talbot State Park. It falls 249 feet and to me is a true testament to the region's geology. In Lateral Falls, you see the iron and magnesium-rich basalt formed millions of years ago. You can see the shape of the basalt as the lava cooled. The lichen and growth on the basalt walls add this contrast to it. You can see these falls from the parking lot. However, I encourage you to make the half-mile round-trip hike to the base of the falls. There's also a longer hike that you can take to the top of the falls. However, I've done my waterfall summit hikes for the day. I have visited this waterfall in the spring, summer, and fall, and I have thoroughly enjoyed it each time. Please take a moment to click that like and subscribe button. I'm trying to keep up with that YouTube algorithm. I visited all of these waterfalls in one full day. Not sure what I'm going to do tomorrow. Perhaps I'll go to the coast. But before I turn in to contemplate my next move, I will leave you with these. Thank you for watching. I'll be posting another video soon. Please tune in.